Oh crap. Oh, lovely. This is Stalker Gamma. The graphics on it are pretty good, considering it's based on the Stalker series of games from 2007 to 2009, I believe it is, possibly earlier than that even. But there's a lot of mods that help to keep the graphics good, obviously. There's mods not just for the graphics, but also for gameplay and guns and armor and all kinds of other stuff as well. But essentially, this game is about a group of people called Stalkers who spend their time navigating an anomalous zone. Now, the backstory is that this anomalous zone was created by aliens visiting Earth and leaving some of their junk, which causes anomalies in the area where they were, and all this is like beyond human explanation, so it's kind of like a weird sci-fi thing going on. And it's loosely based on the movie Stalker, a Russian movie from the 70s, I believe it was. And the movie is based on the book Roadside Picnic, again, where they're talking about these aliens that have visited Earth. And essentially the main idea behind the story is that aliens visited Earth, and those aliens being a much more advanced civilization than our own, them caring about us is kind of like us caring about, say, an anthill. We might, say, leave a bunch of junk by an anthill without even thinking about it if we were, say, visiting in the forest, for example. And that's kind of the main premise of the story. The original movie is a little bit sort of arty, not a lot happens in it, and it's very much about the philosophy of these people being taken into the zone by their stalker, their tourist guide effectively. They're looking for something right in the middle of the zone, some sort of anomaly that can grant people wishes. But yeah, as I say, it's just mostly about the philosophical aspects of like aliens visiting Earth and the sci-fi and all that kind of thing. Really interesting philosophical theory and ideas. But Gamma is basically a bunch of mods that are all pre-put together in one mod pack, so you can download it all in one go. And it's basically an extension for Stalker Anomaly, which is another mod pack that's already been put out there. And then Gamma just adds a lot of extra stuff to Anomaly. So there's an extra level of scavenging, cooking, crafting, and repairing items like your guns and your armor. Gamma actually stands for Grok's Automated Modular Mod Pack for Anomaly. As I say, it's a bunch of pre-done mods. Just download them all in one go, so you don't need to install all these different mods yourself. Gamma has over 300 mods now, so yeah, it's definitely better to just get the mod pack rather than to try and install all these mods yourself. And then if you want to mod it further, you can just start with Gamma and then mod from there. And yeah, as I said, it doesn't actually look too bad considering the age of the original games. But in Stalker Gamma, you play as one of the Stalkers, and there are many factions of Stalker in the game. You have the option of starting off as a loner or starting off as one of the other factions. If it's your first playthrough, actually advise starting off as a loner, which is the way the game's really made to be played, but once you've played it a few times, you might want to join one of the other factions. But while you're running around in the zone, there's a lot of environmental anomalies to look out for, and they can kill you very easily. And if you are quite new to the game and you don't know what to look out for, you can actually accidentally run into these anomalies quite a lot, and they will kill you very quickly, as will many things in the game, actually. But there's a ridiculous amount of weapons and different types of armor and things you can get in this game. All kinds of scopes and upgrades and add-ons for the different guns. And if you're really into real-life guns and stuff like that, you'll probably love this. The maintenance is really, taking it to another level, even beyond what you see in DayZ standalone. Yeah, for example, when I'm playing the game, as I wander around killing stuff, when I find guns on other stalkers and things like that, you're looking at the parts of the gun does that barrel fit in my gun? Is it better than the barrel I've got in my gun? And it's fairly in-depth, the sort of level they've gone to. They've tried to make it obviously as real as possible, where a barrel from a shotgun's not necessarily going to fit any other shotgun. It's still got to be a similar type of shotgun before it'll fit and things like that. You're going to need the correct tools for the job as well, and some of the tools that you need to start maintaining guns, you can't buy them or anything, you've got to find them in the game from the start. But the crafting's not only relating to the weapons. There's all sorts of items you can craft in this game. There's also a fairly in-depth cooking system as well, and a fairly complex medical system. I mean, it's not too complex, takes a little bit to get your head around at first, because there's a system of both pre- and post-healing. The medical aspect of the game is probably not quite as in-depth as DayZ standalone, but it's definitely along those sort of lines. But it's also different and unique enough to keep it actually really interesting too. To start with, you're going to have to find and buy most of your meds, but once you start to get things like the medical toolkit, you can start making your own medicines and medical items, which is pretty good. But when it comes to crafting and maintaining and upgrading weapons, you've got the system through which you can see on the screen now. You see all the individual parts for this armor here. These individual parts you can find when you're in the game, but you can also disassemble other armors or guns if you're working on guns to take the individual parts. You can get them all from disassembling the other items that you find. Not only that, but you're going to need the right toolkit for the job a lot of the time. As I say, some of these toolkits you can make yourself, but you're going to need things like the basic tools before you can make like the historic toolkit for the old school guns like the SKS that I've got there and things like that. There's also a fairly in-depth cooking system in the game. You can see right there I'm going to cook some dog meat, I think it is, some dog chops on the campfire. There are other ways to cook rather than just using the campfire, but you're going to need some sort of source of fuel for your cooking equipment if you're going to cook food without a campfire, for example. But while you're running around in the zone, there's not just the environmental anomalies you've got to look out for, there's other stalkers. Like I say, several factions of stalker, and the factions become enemies, and some of them become friendlies with each other. You've got to keep track of what's going on. There's a lot of mutants running around in the game zone as well. Some of them can be pretty tough, but your most difficult opponents are going to be the other stalkers. Some of the military group of stalkers, for example, they'll be in large groups and they'll have lots of large amounts of really high-end gear, armor and weapons. And yeah, essentially it all comes together to make a really, really involving and interesting and fun to play gaming experience. It's actually pretty popular right now with a lot of people playing, thanks to videos by Operator Drewski, which have been really popular, but I actually saw a video by a guy called Lemon Beans, which is really, really good, and I found most entertaining, and that video also has a lot of views right now as well. And yeah, despite its recent popularity, it's actually been out for quite a while now. I actually regret not playing the Stalker games back in the day either. I never actually played them. A couple of years ago I played the third of the Stalker games, the most recent one, but that's still made in like 2009 or something like that. No more recent than that. But yeah, if you want to check Stalker Gamma out yourself, you want to get onto the Stalker Gamma Discord. I'll put a link in the description for that. On the Discord there's links to where you can download the mod, and there's instructions for how to download it as well. You want to check those out. It's not totally straightforward. But it's not too difficult either. Also, there's a lot of information on there about if you're having problems, how to deal with those problems, and a lot of people experience stuttering in the game as well. There's a lot of information on how to deal with stuttering and frame rates and things like that. But overall, it's really good fun and great survival experience, and especially at the moment where there's no new decent games coming out, lots of people are looking for their entertainment in older games, and that would definitely include Stalker Gamma. That's one of the reasons why it's so popular at the moment. But if you're looking for something interesting to play and you've not played Stalker Gamma, or you've not played any of the Stalker games or anything like that, maybe you've just played Stalker back in the day but you've not played any of these modded games, then yeah, definitely check it out. It's definitely worth checking out. It's really, really interesting and good fun to play. The game did actually stutter really badly when I first started playing it. I'm using the processor affinity fix that's mentioned in the technical FAQ on the Discord for the Stalker Gamma Discord. And that actually sorted the stutters out quite a lot. No, it doesn't start anywhere near as bad as it did when I first started playing it, thanks to that bit of advice. The stutter fix mod did not work for me, unfortunately. I see we're still getting a bit of stuttering. We'll probably reduce that with by changing the graphics settings now. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Take it easy.